Hal, it is so good to have you on the Energize podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. And your smile makes it like you have such a big, bright smile that I'm grateful to be witnessing this right now and being part of this.
Thank you. Thank you. It's got to be the pink lipstick, right?
No, it's the teeth. You've got these big, just beautiful smile, beautiful teeth. Yeah.
A couple of years back, before I discovered the Miracle Morning, I was running around like a Tasmanian devil with lip gloss on in the morning. And I wondered why the rest of my day felt the exact same. And I remember stumbling across a quote that has just stuck with me. And I love your work as well. But Louise Hayes, the founder of Hay House, who said, how you live your day is how you live your life, but how you start your day is how you live your day, and then how you live your life. And I was like, okay, that makes so much sense. Like my morning was just controlled chaos.
Yeah.
And then I really surprised that the rest of my day followed in suit.
Yeah. But that's what I've always said. Similar thought, but it's like that how you start your day sets the tone, the context, and the direction for the rest of the day. And so if you win the morning, you set yourself up to win the day. And so I think, and most of us, it's like the morning. I believe my theory is the reason the morning we struggle with it is if you think about it, when you were a kid, you only woke up when you were forced to wake up by your parents, right? And if it wasn't for your parents, you would have kept sleeping. So as soon as we like turn 18 and leave home, we're like, I'm sleeping in as late as I can. And then we create these new neural pathways where we don't ever change it. And all of a sudden, you're not 18 anymore or 20, you're 30, 40, 50, and you're going, oh, maybe I'm not that teenager anymore that wants to rebel against my mom and dad and sleep in late. Maybe I should actually start my day in a peak state so that I can create the rest of the day and the life that I want.
I'm curious. I was literally on TV today talking about sleep, midlife women sleep, and 60% of women in midlife struggle with sleep issues, and it's hormones for sure. But also I always, joke that we still think we're our 20-year-old selves, or maybe even our like teenage-year-old selves, that you could just run into bed and just fall asleep. And that doesn't work that way. And, especially moms who are juggling households and kids and all the things, their sleep consistency, going to bed and waking up, is just all over the place. And as a result, it's poor sleep, it's inconsistent sleep. They don't wake up feeling refreshed. And so for me, one, I love a morning routine. I've always loved it. I mean, I anchor to that so hard, but that sleep consistency, going to bed at the same time, waking up early at the same time, if I don't do that, it will make or break my life. And so I was curious, as one of the side benefits of the Miracle Morning and just a miracle life, has it been that if people have been consistent about their morning routine and their getting up routine, have they seen an overall gain in their energy levels and their ability to show up?
Yeah. I mean, I think that when I wrote the original Miracle Morning book, I said that a miracle morning begins the night before, right? It begins the night before. If you have a chaotic evening or you're staring at your phone and, the blue light is throwing off your
circadian rhythm.
Yeah, circadian rhythm, all of that, then you're going to struggle to wake up in the morning. Or if your bedtime is inconsistent, right? Then your brain doesn't know and your body doesn't know when to get tired. But if every night you have an evening routine, in fact, in the new edition of the Miracle Morning, the updated edition, there's a chapter called the Miracle Evening, which is all about like, how do you, and it starts 3 to 4 hours before bed.
Yes.
And it's like, number one, it's like deciding when you're going to stop eating, because if you eat too late, then your body is digesting food all night long and it's not getting to rest, repair, and rejuvenate. So you feel like you were hit by a truck in the morning. And people, they're not maybe making the connection. They're like, I don't know why I feel so tired. It's like, well, because you were snacking on chips while you watched TV at 9 o'clock at night and your body had
poor blood sugar.
Yeah. So the point being that a miracle morning starts with a miracle evening, and the lowest hanging fruit is deciding what time am I going to start winding down? And then what does that look like? Where I put my phone away, or I only check to set the alarm, right? But I'm not staring at my phone or doom scrolling. And then for me, I have supplements that I take. I take CBN oil and CBD oil. I take magnesium. And this is all 90 minutes before bed. I take valerian root, right? So there's some supplementation that goes into it. I stop eating minimum 2 hours, but ideally 3 or even 4 hours before bed. So my food is completely digested when I lay down. And then it's eliminating the blue light and all of those things. And then a big thing I talk about in the book is to literally, it's like when I go into my bedroom, I will sometimes do it actually, like I pretend like I'm flipping a switch, and I just decide that I'm leaving all thinking outside of my bedroom. Like, I'm not going to allow myself to think or ruminate or worry or stress or replay things, because I have to decide that my only objective right now is to prepare my mind and body for a peaceful, restful night of sleep. And so anything that doesn't serve that purpose is let go and eliminated. And it's easier said than done in the beginning, right? You're like, if you're used to ruminating, but one way that I made that transition was keeping a journal next to my bed. And so, which I still do, but when my mind would race, I would write down everything that I thought. And here's the beauty of it. We have this, our brain thinks we have to remember everything. So if you start thinking, oh my God, I have this problem. Oh, and I'm worried about it. And then you almost feel like if I don't think about it, I'll lose it. I won't, right? And then I don't know. It's this instinctive fear. And so when you write in the journal, you literally get to close the journal and go, I now gave myself permission that I don't have to think about it, because it's in my journal and I can revisit it tomorrow when it makes sense to actually focus on, my problems and figure out solutions and so on and so forth. So those are some tips to wind down in the evening.
I love those. I love that. And I take it no alcohol as a part of that wind down.
No alcohol. And I do almost no alcohol. I do like 1 beer a week. So I do very little alcohol, but if I do alcohol, it's a beer a week. And like my wife, she likes to drink her wine, not a lot, but she's finally realized like, oh, if I drink wine in the evening, I feel worse in the morning. I sleep worse. I don't do as well in the gym, right? So yeah, I think minimizing alcohol is obviously best.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent, especially for my midlife ladies listening. I think they're still thinking they can hold on to that wine. I'm like, I'm telling you, even if you think you're getting good sleep, you are not. You're most likely waking up and it's affecting a lot of your day. Another thing I want to connect in regarding and I love that you're able to just turn it off. Once my door shuts.
Yeah.
Like my husband's in business with me and he'll come and try to run a landing page. I'm like, are you trying to ask me about, split testing, some type of like subject headline right now? I'm like, no, thank you. And so, once my door is shut, I love my nighttime routine. Like I think more so I'm excited that I get to wake up in the morning and drink coffee.
Yeah. It's like, you can't wait to get to bed. It's like Christmas Eve, right?
Exactly. I'm curious because I don't have the updated version. One of the things I'm wondering if you talk about as well is, and I know all of this is setting up your future self for success. But one of the things I love to do, because I'm getting up super early in the morning, I'm trying to get to the gym, is I have everything laid out.
Yeah.
So like, it's all like, I'm not negotiating what I'm wearing, where my emotional support water is, like it's all ready to go. So I can be from waking up to out the door in like less than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I recommend that in the book, that laying out things before, or even sleeping in your workout clothes, right? If you shower and you put on clean workout clothes, you sleep in it. Like all you gotta do is jump out of bed, put your socks and shoes on, or your shoes if you sleep in your socks. All right. And then go. But for me, everything is like, so this shirt I'm wearing, this is an organic cotton heather gray t-shirt. I have 23 of these, I think. I wear this. So for me, even if I don't have my clothes the night before, this is the same shirt I wear. So I'm very, it's the whole,
you keep it real simple.
Steve Jobs, whatever strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
so,
to be a woman and to get away with something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So for y'all, you probably need to set the clothes out the night before. But that is, and even for me, I have my entire Miracle Morning laid out so I do my Miracle Morning in the front room. So in my front room, I've got my affirmations printed out. I've got my journal sitting out there. I have the book or books that I'm reading. I usually have one family book and then one business book that I'm reading. And so I've got everything is laid out, ready to go, so that in the morning I walk out, I sit down, and I'm ready to do my Miracle Morning.
I love that. Do you mind I ask a little question about the family book? Is this a book you guys are reading together, or?
No. So this is just so I went through cancer a few years ago, and very aggressive, very scary, 30% survival rate. Like it wasn't looking good kind of thing. And that was a big wake up call for me, that I said family was my highest priority, but my schedule and the way that I spent my time and put my energy and my focus was not consistent with what I thought, what I said was my top priority. And so that was one of the many things that I did to align family with the rest of my priorities. Is I have a self-imposed rule that I'm not allowed to read a business book until I read a family book. And when I say family, I essentially mean either a marriage book or a parenting book, one of the
thought.
two.
Okay, that's what I thought. I went because I had a feeling people didn't know. I attributed when I've read a little bit more and read The Miracle Morning that it's the parenting, how to cultivate family, just being more in alignment with the family goals and deal, and like how to become a better dad, a better husband, a better partner.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what that does for me, two things it does is, number one, just the act of reading a book on family, parenting, or marriage first thing in the morning reminds me, yes, this is my first priority. My kids and my wife are the first priority. I'm reading this book. So number one, it's just the act of doing it keeps the priority in order. But also I'm learning something every day that I go, oh, I'm going to try this today with my wife and see how that works. I'm going to implement this in my schedule, so on and so forth. And then beyond that, I take one of my kids to school every day. I pick one of them up every day. So I have a shortened work day. And again, that's just like, it's like, hey, I used to delegate that to my wife. It's like, you pick the kids up, you take them to school, I got to work. And then I've thought, at the end of my life, what will I remember? What will they remember? What will matter more? And it's like, no, that I took them to work. And I feel like I'm still figuring out how to, I think I do sacrifice money and productivity and all of those things, but which in some ways I feel good about that. Because I'm like, yes, even though if I worked more, I could produce more, this is way more important. So.
No, I love that. When I hear a lot when you're talking, and even before we got started, when I asked you what was feeling most alive, you were saying being a dad, and things that you had shared. I want to just touch upon being in alignment with your values and when that really became important to you, how you got very clear on the values that you wanted to uphold, and then how have you been able to uphold them? How have you been able to keep that contract with yourself?
Yeah, love that question. And I don't think there's a defining moment, right? And I also think it's an evolution where, number one, living in alignment with certain values, but maybe not others, right? Great example is before I got cancer, I ate healthy, or at least healthier than most people, although that's another story. But I also realized, oh, well, I eat pretty healthy, but I actually don't eat as healthy as I should be because my identity is I'm a healthy person. So it's okay if I drink a beer or eat vegan ice cream every single night. So it was interesting, right? We play these games where we compare ourselves with others in both sides of that coin, right? In terms of oh, I wish I was more like them or further along, but also you're like, I'm better than most people, right? And so we.
Yeah, so-and-so has got type 2 diabetes. I only have pre-diabetes.
Thank you. Fine. That's it. And so for me, that's I really thought, I'm like, well, I eat healthier than 95% of people, but I had a beer every night. I took Adderall to focus, in my 20s, right? So I was doing these things where it's like, well, yes, I'm healthier than most people, but I also am doing things I shouldn't be doing. So anyway, point being, I valued productivity. I valued integrity. I valued these things and health, even though I took it to another level after cancer, going up to cancer. I valued family, but I wasn't living in alignment with that value. So after I became more in alignment, and my health went from being healthier than most people to impeccable. That's the word that I apply to my diet. Everything that I do is it has to be impeccable. If it could cause cancer, if it is not from the ground, not from earth, right? Meaning plant, animal, meat, fish, vegetables, fruit. If it is processed or made in a lab, it doesn't go in my body. It only goes in my body if it's a whole food from planet Earth. So that was okay, I was living 80% in alignment with my value of health. Well, now it's I try to be 99% in value with my health. Like I said, I have a beer once a week, right? So that's not perfect, yeah. So it's been really an evolution. And I'll tell you what helps me to do it. It's something I learned when I was 20 years old from my mentor. He said, Hal, the secret to success is do the right thing, not the easy thing. And he said, every moment, every choice based on what you're going to order at a restaurant, right? The right thing is something that adds value to your life, to your health. And the easy thing is the thing that doesn't, right? And I was in sales at the time. He goes, when you're deciding, should I make my phone calls today, the right thing, or should I procrastinate, the easy thing? He said, if you can repeat it to yourself over and over and over, and then live that mantra, do the right thing, not the easy thing, do the right thing, not the easy thing. And so that for me that's one of the keys to everything I've accomplished in my life. When the alarm goes off in the morning and I'm like, I want to keep sleeping, I have this little voice in my head that's like, do the right thing, Hal. And then that becomes part of your identity where you're like, I am someone who does the right thing, not the easy thing. And now I teach that to my kids, and hopefully they will embed that in their subconscious, and that will keep them in alignment with their values.
I love that. And, especially as, a parent, which there's lots of parents listening, is really leading by example.
Yeah.
In that too. It's one thing to tell them. It's just, I remember, growing up with the peanuts, wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it is amazing.
Show.
You and I were talking about before we started about being a parent and how my daughter just turned 16. And there was a period where, she was hanging out with kids that I didn't feel like shared our values. And I was really worried, like as a parent, you're so worried. And as she became a teenager, and then I'm going, oh my gosh, what if she goes down the wrong path? What if she adopts this person's values? And to your point, leading by example, it's amazing. We just, for her 16th birthday, I had a tribute video made. Have you seen those tribute videos?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
So I had a tribute video made to surprise her, all of her friends and family. And it was so cool. And as she was watching it, I've never seen her cry so much, which was so special. But for just person after person after person in her life to say the same things about her. Sophia, you make everyone feel so great around you. You're the biggest cheerleader. If I want somebody to celebrate me or to support me, I call you, right? So it's like to hear so many of these values that I've led with, but I didn't know she was hearing them. And then it's like, wow, they're now being repeated back to her as these are the values that she is embodying. And it was also, I love how much you care about your family. And I think almost like I'm watching her and I think she was like, oh, I guess I do, right? So it's like, she doesn't even realize that she's unconsciously living into these values that me and her mom have tried to embody.
I bet you guys were like in the back. You're like, that's us over here.
Yeah, totally.
We'll take credit for that.
A little bit.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. But I bet you felt like so much pride.
Hey, I was just for her. I go, wow, this is doing more for her self-esteem and her self-confidence and her to feel loved like than anything I could have ever done. So yeah, that was really special.
I love it. Thank you so much. I've been really, sharing a lot about being in alignment with my values as a mom and in my work and in my mission and even in my health as well. Very similar to you, zero ultra processed foods, but as a mom too, making sure that the meals in the household are a reflection of that. Like I always ask myself, is this going to fuel or feed my future brain? That's the question I always like to ask because I being in perimenopause, like I need my brain to work. And so that's always the question. I'm like, I don't want inflammation in my brain or in my body. So I love that. And I love meeting people that it's very clear out the get-go that they're in alignment with their values as well. And I think that's just a beautiful lesson that all of us can walk away from.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the most important things that you can do, right? To define what are your values and then that everything is in alignment with your values. It's one of the most important things that you can do.
Absolutely. I do want to get back to the morning. I want to get back to the expanded version and kind of in deciding what you were going to add to the expanded version, which I love that you were like, how you start your morning is basically how you end your evening. Yeah. So true. What were some other things that people were excited to see or that people really kind of jumped on the bandwagon once the revised version came out?
Yeah, it was and that, by the way, that picture behind me, this yellow book is the new updated and expanded edition. So the original Miracle Morning published on December 12th, 2012. I thought, what a cool date that I'll never forget.
Launch. Woo.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the original book is self-published, and I've been doing the Miracle Morning since 2008, I think. So 4 years of experience and then sharing it with other people way before there was a book. Like I was sharing it in speeches and on social media and to my coaching clients. So I had a lot of feedback when I wrote the original book. And I've always thought about writing a new edition because I've learned so much since then. And if you've ever put out anything, right, you put out a book or even a video course, you watch it again, you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I could make it so much better. So I always had it in my mind, but I also had this fear of like, but wait, the original edition has sold millions of copies. What if I mess it up? Like, what if I should leave it alone? And so I finally just decided that I wanted to update it. And so I went through every page and rewrote, as I felt like, how could I make this better? And so I completely updated the whole thing page by page. And then I added 2 brand new chapters, the Miracle Evening that we talked about, your strategy for blissful bedtime, and then the Miracle Life, which is likely my next book, I'd been working on that for the last few years. And I thought, I don't want to wait to get this content out. I want to get at least the gist of it out. And the Miracle Life is all about how to be completely in love with the life you have, at peace, even if it's difficult and challenging. And I reference my cancer journey in that chapter of scariest time in my life. And I chose to be the most at peace and optimistic and grounded in faith that I had ever been. And then I added 20 pages just to the Savers chapter. And for those that don't know, the Savers is the acronym that's kind of the engine of the Miracle Morning. It stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise reading, and scribing, which is a fancy word for journaling. Those 6 practices make up the Miracle Morning. And so I updated that with, everything I've learned in the last 15 years since the original book published that I would have shared had I known it, when I first started.
And have people really taken to the blissful bedtime ritual or the evening routine, or and I want to dive a little bit deeper. I'm curious. I know we talked about the bedtime routine, but I'm wondering if people really loved it. And then I want to get into the Miracle Life. Even deeper.
Yeah. So the Miracle Evening, that was probably the number 1 requested book that I've ever had. For the last 10 plus years, it was, hey, you wrote the Miracle Morning. What about the Miracle Evening? And I would always get asked for my evening routine. And I was, for many years, most of that time, I was embarrassed to be like, I don't really have one. I just say goodnight to my kids and then I just go to bed. And then I started just researching, studying, more and more comes out about how important it is to have a very specific evening routine. So I started diving in, and then I got this really robust evening routine. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to share it. And here's what really prompted it. In November 2019, I was getting ready to host what would be my last live event. I have not done one since then. It was our 6th year, but I was coming off of 3 years of chemotherapy, and it was really taking a toll on my brain and creating anxiety and so on and so forth. And the night before the event, I slept for 2 hours, and then I went to bed at 9, and I woke up at 11 p.m., and I was flooded with, I don't know, cortisol, adrenaline, something. And I was up all night long. And I thought, oh my God, this is the worst thing that could have happened the day before my first event. Well, that night repeated itself for 6 months. So I was sleeping 2 to 4 hours a night for 6 months. Now it's extreme sleep deprivation to where I became suicidal. It's, you will die at that rate. You can't hold that
insulin resistance, metabolic dysfunction.
Yes.
Everything you just feel like you're going to crack.
I got off of, I was sleeping in another room because I could barely function and get through my day. And so I went to extreme lengths to figure out how to fix that. And I have the Miracle Morning movie, a documentary that we filmed. There is Dr. Michael Bruce is in that film, and he's known as the sleep doctor. And it didn't even occur to me, again, when you're not sleeping, you don't think straight. And I finally called Joe Polish, who's one of my Miracle Morning co-authors. He wrote the Miracle Morning for Addiction Recovery with me. I called Joe and I was like, hey man, I'm really struggling. You have a big network. Do you know anyone that could help me? And he said, what about Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor that was in your movie? I go, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. So I called Dr. Michael Bruce. He gets on, we do multiple calls. He coaches me through every type of supplement, everything that I could do. And I solved my sleep issues. And I also got off chemotherapy. That was one of the things that I decided to do before I was quote unquote, supposed to. So I got off chemo. I actually stopped 100% of my pharmaceutical drugs that I was on for post-cancer, 100% cold turkey, and never took them again. That was 5 years ago. And so it's important because I think that if I hadn't have stopped the pharmaceutical drugs, including prednisone and chemo once a month, I don't know that I would have solved the sleep issues because I think that is what caused them. I believe that. So long story short, I started asking during my speeches, how many of you struggle to fall asleep or stay asleep? And it was roughly half of the hands that went up every single speech. And that's when I realized, oh, this is a major issue. And that's why I wrote the Miracle Evening. And yeah, the feedback for that has been phenomenal, which again, as your book's coming out, when you write a book, you're scared. You're like, what if people don't like it? What if it doesn't land? What if I didn't say it right? But I think that the Miracle Evening did hit the mark, if you will.
Yeah. As you were moving through your Miracle Evening, it's so in line with what I share. I have a whole chapter on circadian rhythm optimization because as I was sharing with you before we got started, I think that over 60% of women, particularly in midlife, due to a number of things, but hormones in particular, like it tends to be the thing that tips them over the edge. Like sleep is just terrible. And so, there's obviously lots of support in terms of hormone support, but ultimately, like we just have to we have to really honor the sleep routine. We got to calm our mind. We just got to convince our brain that it's safe enough to go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that.
And then, I bet someone's listening who is having a really difficult time. I feel like it's a very difficult time for everybody right now. Everyone I know is going through transition, working out, whether it's relational or it's financial or just a lot of different stressors, and are not necessarily, I wouldn't say happy, but very stressed, very overwhelmed by all the things that are being thrown at them in terms of life. And I know that the concept, as you broke it down, miracle life, that could be hard to kind of wrap your brain around. Being happy and joyful and being okay with just being in the present when it's all just not feeling super great. And I am sure you've had people come up to you and goodness knows you've had your own trials and tribulations as well, including overcoming a very scary cancer diagnosis. And so how are you helping people navigate that during this time?
Yeah, and everything you're saying is so true. I think that collectively humanity ever since 2020, it's like we got hit upside the head and it's like people are recovering in different rates and and it's just life's just crazy. It feels like everything was like pre 2020, post 2020 and we're all still dealing with this collective, these challenges. And so the miracle life concept, it wasn't called that, but it really started when I was 20 years old. I was driving home after giving a speech at a conference, and my car was hit head on by a drunk driver at 70 miles per hour. And my car spun off the drunk driver, and the car behind me crashed into my driver's side door at 70 miles per hour. And it completely crushed the door and crushed the left side of my body. I broke 11 bones instantaneously. My arm behind my bicep, the humerus bone, broke in half. I shattered my elbow, my femur, and my leg broke in half. Broke my pelvis in 3 places. And I bled to death at the scene of the accident. I was clinically dead for 6 minutes when they pulled me out of the car. They airlifted me to the hospital and brought me back to life, using defibrillators and an IV. And I came out of a coma, 6 days later. And when I came out of the coma, I had to face this unimaginable reality. I'm 20 years old, and they're like, oh yeah, Hal, you broke 11 bones, you have permanent brain damage, you're never going to walk again. And I had learned something a year and a half prior when I started my Cutco career. I started in sales for Cutco Cutlery.
Ooh, that is talk about getting thrown in the fire of sales right there.
Yes. Yeah. And if it wasn't, it's ironic that I was speaking at a Cutco conference the night of my accident. So had I not been in Cutco, I wouldn't have been in the accident. But had I not learned what I'm about to share with you, I wouldn't have been mentally strong enough to deal with the accident. Right. So I think it's all kind of divine, and in terms of how it all worked out. But I learned something from my manager, my mentor, Jesse, on my second day of training. He said, when you're selling Cutco, it's a microcosm for life, but with more adversity than the average person faces. He said, the average person is rejected occasionally and has to deal with the emotional inner turmoil from being rejected. But in sales, you're going to get rejected every single day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. You're going to get rejected on the phone when you call to schedule appointments and people say no or they hang up on you. Right? And so at 20 years old, I'm like rethinking, I don't know if I can handle this, And he said, you're going to fail. You're going to set a goal. You're going to fail to reach the goal. So you're going to encounter a lot of challenges. He said, you need a strategy to quickly move through adversity. So you can keep moving forward towards your goals. So, okay. So he taught us the 5-minute rule. And he said, when something happens that doesn't go according to plan and you get upset or angry or scared or sad or whatever, anytime you feel emotions that don't feel good and you don't like the way you feel and you want to quit, you want to give up, he said, you set your timer for 5 minutes and give yourself 5 minutes of space where you get to feel your emotions fully. He said, bitch, moan, cry, complain, vent. If you have to, punch a pillow or whatever, feel it fully. So that way you don't suppress your emotions. He said, but when the timer goes off after 5 minutes, you say 3 very liberating words. can't change it. You acknowledge, okay, take a deep breath. Can't change it. I can't change what happened 5 minutes ago. So now I have a choice. I can continue. I could snooze on the timer and do it again, right? Or I can accept my reality exactly as it is. And I might not be happy with it, but through acceptance, you can be at peace with it. You can be neutral. You can be like, all right, it sucks. It happened. I can't change it. So there's no point in feeling sorry for myself. There's no point in wishing it didn't happen. That's just delusional. The only logical choice I have, or that we would have, is let's accept reality, can't change it. Okay, what can I change? He would teach us, what can you change? Get on the phone, make more calls, and move forward. So I had practiced that for a year and a half. And in full transparency, when I said snoozing, the first few times that it happened, I'm like, the timer went off. I go, I'm still mad. And I would hit her literally the snooze button and be mad for another 5 or 10 more minutes, right? But after a few weeks of this, the timer would go off and I'd go, can't change it. And then I would set the timer and it would be like a minute into it. And I'd go, okay, I can't change it. What's the point in sitting here for 4 more minutes and wasting time when I could just accept it now and move on? Mm-hmm. So I had practiced that for a year and a half. And when I came out of the coma, one of the first thoughts I had after I was told everything that had happened to me, and I felt those emotions. I mean, these were greater emotions than anything I'd ever experienced, but I was like, oh, wait a minute. I can't change it. Therefore, just like everything else I've applied that philosophy to, there's no point in wishing I wasn't in a car accident. There's no point in wishing I didn't break 11 bones. And if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, if I never walk again, there's no point in wishing that I could. So I'm going to accept my current reality exactly as it is. And to be fair, this didn't take 5 minutes. It took like 5 days, but still pretty quickly, right?
Pretty quickly, yeah.
Every day I'm thinking through this and I'm like imagining, what does this look like? What does my future look like? What does this mean? But I kept coming back to, I can't change it. I can't change what I can't change. So there's no value in dwelling on the past, wishing it didn't happen, wishing anything were different. And so I started just being, I'm like, I'm just going to be grateful and happy. And because that's what I want to be. And so a week after I came out of the coma, the doctors called my parents in and they sat them down and they said, we want to give you an update on Hal. He's stabilized because I was in critical condition for the first couple of weeks. He's stable. I think he should be with us for a long time. And my parents, of course, were like so grateful. That's what they were hoping for. They had watched me flatline twice while I was in my coma. I mean, it was really close to the end. And he said, but we're concerned with his mental and emotional state. They said, every time we talk to Hal, he's always smiling and laughing and telling us jokes to make us laugh. And they said, frankly, that is not normal for a 20-year-old young man who's being told he's never going to walk again. We believe he is in a state of denial or a state of delusion. So we want you to talk to him, and he needs to admit the fear, the anger, whatever, the sadness. He has to admit it so he can heal mentally and emotionally. So my dad comes in and he sits by my bed. And keep in mind, I was in a coma for 6 days. I'm out of the coma for a week. So this is like 2 weeks after I was found dead, broke 11 bones. My arm's in a cast, my leg's in a cast. I had broken my eye socket. It's all bandaged up. And my dad sits down and he says, Hal, hey, I want to talk to you. And he expresses the doctor's concerns. And he says, how are you really feeling about this? I know that you're positive and you have visitors. So you guys are joking and you're friends, you're reminiscing. But when the lights go out at night, when you're by yourself and you're thinking about that the doctors are saying you're never going to walk again. And he said, I know you say you are going to walk again. I did have unwavering faith that I could walk again.
Right.
Well, so I accepted.
Only way is through. Like you are making a plan.
And I was at peace if I didn't. So think about that. Holding so both ideas at the same time.
Yes.
I have unwavering faith. God, may I walk again. I'm going to maintain faith in my body healing. And and this is what I told my dad. I said, Dad, if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I've decided I'll be the happiest, most grateful person that you've ever seen in a wheelchair, because at that point, I can't change it. And so I said, you can go tell the doctors, I'm not in denial. I'm not delusional. I'm just totally at peace with what I can't change because I can't change it. And that is the premise of the miracle life. And it's holding someone's hand, because when you hear that, you're like, yeah, that sounds like a cool superpower, but like, when things happen, I get upset. Like if I set a timer for 5 minutes, that's not just going to change everything. And so the Miracle Life, that chapter is about holding someone's hand from being reactive, getting upset over things we can't change, to getting to a place where even if you are told you're never going to walk again, you wake up out of a coma, you're like, oh, I'm at peace with this. The day that I was diagnosed with cancer and given a 30% chance of surviving, same thing. I decided there's a 100% chance that I would be in the 30% of those that survive my cancer. So just like I was maintaining faith, I would walk again. And by the way, I took my first step 1 week after that conversation with my dad, and the doctors couldn't believe it. And that when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was at peace. The day I was diagnosed, I went, okay, worst case scenario, I die, and I have to be at peace with that. I have cancer. There's no point in wishing I didn't have cancer. I have cancer. I'm at peace with that. And I'm going to maintain unwavering faith that I will beat this cancer while being at peace with every step along the way.
I mean, yeah. Isn't it one of the lessons for the ages? Like I feel like when we come to this earth to learn these lessons, it's a lot about that surrender and that unwavering faith and, doing what you can with what you got. So I love that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a lesson we can all learn. Little mini aspects. Today, I think I told you I drove from San Diego to LA this morning really early. And I was on my way, I was prepping for this segment about sleep. And I get there and the woman who's interviewing me, mind you, I have props. I have the whole thing. I have it memorized. I'm ready. And she is in perimenopause. And she decides to blow up the whole segment because she has questions for me on TV.
Yeah.
So as she starts, I'm like, oh, well, we're not.
Totally throws you off. I've been there.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, we're not talking about anything that I thought we were talking about today. Like, I have no idea. We're talking about itchy ears and all kinds of things. And I was, there's just like, okay, a surrender. Like I'm holding the vision that it's going to be what it's meant to be. And that I'm going to just go with it. And there's nothing I can do about the fact that she's blowing up this whole entire segment.
Yeah. I've had that happen before. And you just have to be, yeah. I've gone in with like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to say, especially on TV. Cause you're like, I've got 5 minutes or 3 minutes. Yeah. Right. So you have to have it like totally. And then the first question that you were expecting, you're like, well, yeah. I mean, you're like, what just that? Yeah. Well, I wanted to share this real quick.
Yeah.
What I just shared, the 5-minute rule and this can't change it idea. I use these extreme examples of my car accident and cancer. I want to share just very quickly one of the ways that anybody listening to this can apply this right away. And it's in traffic. Most people don't like traffic and they resist their reality, wishing there wasn't traffic and the cars were going faster and they wish they had left earlier. It's like they literally live the entire car ride in this state of resistance and denial and delusion. And therefore they're stressed out and tense. And it's one of the simplest ways to go, I can't change it. I'm in traffic and and this to me is a metaphor for life. I'm in traffic. I can either be at peace with it and enjoy every moment in this car. Just like in life, you can be at peace with the things you can't change and enjoy every moment of this one life that you've been blessed to live, aka the miracle life.
I love that. Yeah, I spent 5.5 hours in traffic today for a 5-minute segment.
That wasn't even what you're supposed to talk about.
And I mean, I love that surrender of just accepting what it is. And I sent voice memos to my besties. I followed up with my PR team about how hilarious that segment was. And I just listened. I have so many different fiction books and personal development books that I listen to. And it's just a surrender. Like I'm going to get home. The one thing I was determined to do is to make it home for this. I was like, I'm going to make it home for Hal. I'm going to get home. I didn't want to reschedule because your time is equally as precious as anyone else's. And so I wanted to really honor that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But that was the only thing. And if for some reason, there was a bad accident, I would have gotten in front of you immediately and let you know what had happened. But yeah, I feel that. You're right. There's always traffic. There's always going to be traffic. We're always going to be running late to something potentially. And often there's really nothing. I mean, in that juncture of the moment, there's nothing you can do about it. You just got to get yourself there and let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. And it's these everyday. I used to have these can't change it wristbands as a reminder. It just was a wristband that said can't change it. And I would give them out after my speeches. And people, I would say, switch your hand every time you catch yourself resisting reality. And that way you become aware of how much you are causing yourself emotional turmoil every day. And most people would say I'd switch it 20 or 30 times a day. but then I would say can't change it. And then it would get to where before I would even start resisting reality, I would set that timer for 5 minutes, and the time got less and less and less until it just becomes the way that you approach it versus like, oh, that sucks. Can't change it. Move on,
I love, oh, that's so powerful. Hal, this has been such an incredible conversation. This has been so fun. And I want to know where you would love for us to plug into you.
I think miraclemorning.com and that's the hub. So there's a Miracle Morning movie. You can watch the documentary for free if you go to miraclemorning.com. There's a Miracle Morning app. You can download that for free and try, 7-day trial for the edition with basically click play and it leads you through an entire Miracle Morning. And then of course there's, the Miracle Morning book series, which by the way, you're the first person I'm telling this to. The Miracle Morning After 50 is my first book in 3 years in the Miracle Morning book series. And it just went on for pre-order. So yeah, there's the updated and expanded edition here. But then also if you're over 50, check out the Miracle Morning After 50. You can pre-order it today and it comes out in December.
I love that. Real quick, before we go, I'm curious, after the age of 50, is it because we're at that defining moment where we're deciding what the second half of the life is going to look like? Or I feel like we all have that existential moment of like, is this it? Is this what we're doing? Yeah.
So here's how it happened real quick. So my co-author is Dwayne J. Clark, and he is the founder of Aegis Living, which is a senior living facility, one of the biggest in the country. And he had read Miracle Morning and he reached out a couple of years ago and said, hey, I care for seniors. And he said, we need a custom edition for people in the second half of their life. Yeah. And so he and I have been working on this for years. And so, yeah, it really takes his expertise because I'm 46. So I'm not even in the...
I'm almost 46. We're
okay, there you
the
go.
Same age. Yeah,
I'm not even in the age group yet.
We're not 50 yet. I will say that unless, if you and I are living till we're 90, we're halfway through.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, how do you approach the mindset? Yeah. How do you approach, with, the second half of life? And then what are the actual practices? And we actually took the savers and we extended them significantly and customized them for, when you're over 50, whether you're preparing for retirement or you're in retirement, right? So it's just a different phase of life.
I love it. Oh, I love it. I'm just curious. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, I'll have all the links in the show notes. And again, Hal, honey, it's been such a pleasure to connect with you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.